Hello, in this video we're going to talk about how to make what I call a circle board game. So this is a bit different from the rectangular board game because it is a circle. And the reason is that your goal is the game doesn't end when you get to a certain square, but rather when you finish a certain condition, right? In terms of collecting a certain number of cards, right? So that's why we're using a circle, because you should be able to just continuously go around. But we'll just look at the instructions here. Your goal is to purchase story cards. One card costs 2 counters until there are no more story cards in that deck. And if you didn't watch the rectangular board game video, counters are just little plastic discs that I buy. You can use anything that you want. Just have something so the student, you get counters, then you turn them in to get these story cards. Once you have purchased all of the story cards, work together to place the story cards in what you think is a proper order, and then ask the instructor for the answer key. If you run out of event or question cards, reshuffle the deck. To start the game, each player rolls a dice. The player with the highest roll goes first, and then the other players follow clockwise. On your turn, you do the following. Roll a dice and go that many spaces forward. If you land on the start space, your turn is over and the next player goes. Okay, start space. If you land on an event space, draw a matching card and follow its directions. Right, there's an event space. Let's go see, let's go have a look at what those cards look like. Notice that there's a back of the cards that matches what's on the board game. That makes it really easy, and it says event on it. That makes it easy to find. And there, I have some facts I wanted people to learn. So this board game is to help students learn about Mary Seacole. And the idea here is that she's especially important for her contributions to nursing. And so I decided all the events should have something to do with with medicine and medical knowledge and medical history. So here we go. Edward Jenner develops an improved smallpox vaccine, gain a counter. You accidentally drink from the Broad Street pump, which is contaminated with cholera, lose a counter. James Kilpatrick of South Carolina helps develop a safer form of inoculating people against smallpox, gain a counter. So these are all things that either gain or you lose you a counter. They include a fact that helps you learn more about the time period. And so that's the purpose here. Again, as with the rectangular board game, we have something that happens, an event that happens, and then you get something, right? You gain a counter. So that's a pretty simple thing. Let's go back now. If you land on an event space, or I'm sorry, if you land on a question space, the person who will take the next turn draws a matching card and asks you the question from it. If you answer the correct question correctly, you gain 1 counter. So again, this is, it's up to you how you do this. But again, this is related to what an assignment the students would have completed before coming to class. So you can see I've got the multiple choice question there. Notice that there's 6 cards instead of 9. That's so that I can make the cards a little bit bigger. And that gives you more space for students to actually be able to read them. I found that the questions get quite long. And then you can see it's marked with an asterisk. And there we have a back where it says question. It has a different picture of Mary Seacole. So that's pretty simple. You get that right, you get a counter. You can purchase a story card for 2 counters, read the card out loud, and then place it face up in front of you. So what happens, and one thing I want to point out, one tricky thing about board games is that you want people to learn from them, but if you want them to learn from them, you can't just ask questions because they may not know the information for the questions. So the idea here is to use a board game to teach them something they maybe don't know. So maybe they don't know anything about Mary Seacole. And so that's why we have these story cards. So let's go look at the story cards. So these are just facts about her life. And you would read them and notice you've got these symbols. I'll explain what these mean momentarily, but you've got the symbols and that is for the answer key. And notice we have a different card back and it says story. So people can clearly see what this is for. And these are in order here, but of course the students will shuffle them. They won't get them in order. And that's key. They should not get them in order. So if we go back to the board, once you have drawn, okay, the next player takes their turn. Once you have drawn all the story cards, whoever has the most wins. In case of a tie, all those who the highest number are considered winners. Everyone should then put their cards together and try and put them in chronological order from left, the early events, to right, the later events. Once that is done, ask the instructor for an answer key. And the idea is that you can tell, even though you don't know the story of Mary Seacole, sometimes I give a year. Sometimes there's a logical connection, like obviously when she's born first, she can't do anything else till she's born. This says as a young person. This says 1853 to 54. This is 1850. So people can figure it out, but the idea is that they have to read the story. They have to think about the story. And once they have done that, once they've got all the cards and they put them in order and they ask for the instructor, you give them the key, and here's the key, right? And it has the symbols. Because if it gets confusing if you say A, B, C, D or something like that, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they'll just put them in that order. But the idea here is that they've got these symbols, right? So you can see like rectangle, square, circle. And when I made the cards, I put them in order because otherwise it's hard to keep out. But see, it says rectangle, square, circle. But the students will get them randomly, right? They'll shuffle. And then that's a way for them to check themselves, make sure they got the story right. But the idea here is that they maybe didn't know anything about Mary Seacole when they came into this game, but by playing the game, they will learn something about her. That's the goal. And the thing is, you can just use my template, right? If we go back to the board, you can just, you want a different image, you want to make it about someone else, you just delete it, right? We can delete this picture too. And you just put in your own. You can revise the instructions how they want. You can change the title how you want, but just leave this other stuff here, the blue and the arrow, and you've got a game, right? It'll take a while, of course, to make all the cards, but it's there. You just need to plug in the pieces. And hopefully with that, you can make a game that will help people to learn.